Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is one of the most beautiful places on the earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village is the largest real estate office with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. They're also an award-winning RE/MAX office. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to figure out your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007 or find them online at explorerhsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorerhsv.com.
So, Todd, one of the craziest things you've ever heard while working for the POA?
Property owner called in and wanted the POA to do something about the frogs because they were too loud at night. She couldn't get any sleep. So
the frogs.
The frogs were too loud. Yeah. Yeah.
And with that, we begin another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out with one of our favorite guests, Mr. Todd Noles, who is, let me run it down. It's wildlife, common areas, and forestry, or did I miss which one? What do you do?
All of the above, and streets.
And streets. Because you're filling in for the street guy, right?
Well, we hired a new street superintendent. I'm the assistant street superintendent, sanitation, and common property, forestry, and wildlife. So
common property, forestry, and wildlife, which is a little bit of everything. And for those of you who don't know behind the scenes in Hot Springs Village Inside Out, we'll cut to the chase. 26,000 acres of awesome, surrounded by millions of acres of national forest, surrounded by a lot of rural area. Simply a stunning area. But the wildlife doesn't know we have gates, do they? They don't care.
And they don't care. And we get all sorts, different type of wildlife that comes in here.
Well, I called you the other day asking about a mountain lion. Somebody said they'd reported a mountain lion, and I was like, really?
That's right. Yeah. Now that's just, they can see them. They're in Arkansas. I work closely with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission, and we try to monitor our wildlife that's, not only in the village, but on the border of the village in the Ouachita National Forest. And because we do live in the Ouachita Mountains. I mean, we're in the Ouachita Mountain Range, and we share this with so many other different types of wildlife. And so I try to work with the Game and Fish Commission to help monitor. We've kind of partnered up and to monitor the wildlife that we have. And they have seen they've seen mountain lions. The deer leases outside the village. They've had pictures of some on their game cameras, but they move through so quickly.
But hang on. If I was a mountain lion and I saw thousands of tasty deer on the side of the road, why would I be moving through?
Yeah. Well, they're after a girlfriend, to be honest with you, Dennis. They to give you an example. We had a guy, he's a large state biologist with the state of Arkansas for large carnivore. And I was visiting with him for the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. And he said that they've been trying to trap and collar these mountain lions in the state of Arkansas to monitor their movement, to monitor the range that their pattern they move. And he said that they have went to different deer leases that's had pictures on the game cameras. They've never been able to trap one, but they have been able to get hair samples from them.
Like they rub up against something and they get hair samples? Yeah,
it's a type of trap that when they come through this trail, it catches their hair. You run a DNA test, make sure, it is, a mountain lion. And so they send these hair samples to this laboratory in Montana to get a DNA sample from them to see where they've come from and other different specifics about them. Now, from South Arkansas to North Arkansas, I think they collected 5 to 6 different hair samples from mountain lions. And every one of those hair samples come back those mountain lions come from the Black Hills of South Dakota. So yeah,
did they ride a Greyhound train? How?
Well, they claim that when a mountain lion gets a certain age, it reaches maturity, the males are pushed off from the herd.
Oh, okay.
And they have to go in search of a female, and they just travel. And that's why you'll see one every now and then going through Arkansas. And it may be here in the village today, and by this weekend it could be up around Harrison or up close to Branson, Missouri. I mean, it's just they just leave.
After he finds a girlfriend, then does he settle down for a while? Yeah,
he settles down and has a home terrain then. But
I would imagine, 1.7 million acres of national forest, that'd be a good place to hang out for a while, right?
Oh, yeah, it'd be great.
He just can't find a girlfriend.
If you just had someone to hang out with.
Well, the title I've chosen roughly for this episode is Lions and Tigers and Snakes. Oh, my. So I'll say tigers, lions, and bears. Tell us about, apparently there's some bears north of here. What's going on there?
Well, there's bears here in the village. Really? We had a lot of sightings last summer, and there'll be some sightings this summer.
Well, we had one actually swim across the end of Lake DeSoto. Just in party barge, people were just taking pictures, and he got up out of the water and went on up in the woods.
Yeah, we have bear here, and I help the game and fish trap them. We collar the female bear, and then we go back in and do what's called a cub study. We go up to the den, we track them up, and we pull the cubs out. Of course, we tranquilize the mother, and she is monitored by veterinarians the whole time we've got the cubs out. They got her on the oxygen, and they got, they're down in the den with her. And so we pull the cubs out, we measure them, we weigh them, make sure that they're healthy, and see how many she's got. 6 months from then, we'll go back and we'll track her back up and make sure those cubs have made it.
Wow. So now, and I think you sent us a picture of this, so we'll have this posted on the page.
Yeah.
If you never come to the website, hotspringsvillageinsideout.com, come to the website, see Todd's page, and we'll have those photos linked below here. Amazing. What was it like to hold a little baby cub?
Oh, they're furry and fuzzy and friendly at that age, but you have to catch them when they're between 4 to 6 pounds. That's why you've only got a 2-week period to go in and do this study, because when they get about 8 to 9 pounds, when they get about 8 to 9 weeks old, they become little bears. And you grab a hold of them, then they're going to start clawing and biting and squealing and all that. But
really,
yeah, at this age, 6 weeks old, 4 to 6 weeks old, you can actually get them out and hold them, and you can measure their paws and and weigh them.
For this age, they're docile,
right? And believe it or not, Arkansas is called the bear state.
I was going to bring that up this year. Yeah. Before we became the natural state, we were the bear state. And Todd, let me go back to that just for a second and bring up something that others may not know. The Game and Fish has a great magazine they've been putting out for 40 years now. Fantastic. And I used to get it all the time. And one of the things about that they said, since the 20s, we've had this resurgence in white-tailed deer, and this resurgence in elk, and this resurgence in whatever. And what they didn't say is, we darn near depleted the whole thing in the 20s. We fished us out. We shot all the bear, we shot all the deer, and we had to bring things back in, right?
Right. Yeah. And, the bear was extinct in the state of Arkansas. I think they said in 1943 that they counted, I think the best count they had, we had 6 bear in the state of Arkansas.
6. And
so they brought in bear from Montana and from Canada.
Really?
And this was between 1955 and 1960. And they had this was the most successful reintroduction in the world.
Really?
Was the black bear in the state of Arkansas. The only thing that's come close to it is the wolves in Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah.
The reintroduction of the wolves. But the black bear in the Ouachita Mountains was the most successful reintroduction of any animal in the world. And the habitat was just perfect for them. And so
now, did we hunt them all out simply because we thought it was a great way to get rid of all the pestilence or something, or do you know?
I think so. And when people would see one, they would just automatically try to take it out. But a black bear is not going to attack someone. It's not like a grizzly or a brown bear. They're more scared of you than you are them. Even if they've got little cubs with them, they're not going to charge you unless you grab one of their cubs and it goes squealing. But the reintroduction, it was so successful that we now actually have a bear season. We have so many black bears. Yeah, we have a black bear season here in Arkansas. So it was a great reintroduction by the Game and Fish, and they're pretty proud of that. So if you ever go to any of their talks that they do, they're going to bring up the reintroduction to the black bear, because that's one thing that they're extremely proud about.
Well, to the point where we actually have a bear season. When is bear season, and roughly? And by the way, for those of you who don't get the Game and Fish magazine or know any of this stuff, they typically will have the state divided up into quadrants or sections or whatever. And many times they go along the Interstate 40 running from east to west, Interstate 30 running from Little Rock southwest. And they'll say, okay, from Interstate 30 west and north, you can hunt bear between these days and whatever. Well, when is the season and what is it? Do you know? I
think around here it's I think it starts about the middle of October. Goes to the end of November in this zone that we're in. I think that reaches Highway 7 north is the boundary line, I believe. So where Hot Springs Village is at, I think that it's about the middle of October to the end of November, somewhere in there. I'm not quite sure on that, but
we have enough of them that we actually have a season on it.
We do, and they usually get pretty good numbers, and that's a way for them to monitor them. They can see how many he's taken out. Then you go in for your cub study, see how many born. With the females that you do have, collared, there's several that we don't, that we'll go back in the summer and trap. And I say, when I help them, I don't go just off anywhere in the state of Arkansas and help them. I help the Game and Fish. I'm always involved with anything that they do in Hot Springs Village or right on the boundary of Hot Springs Village. Now, these cubs that you got a picture of that we pulled out of the den, that's just as a crow flies, as we call it, Southern slang, as a crow flies. It's just a few hundred feet probably from Hot Springs Village border.
Right,
so
right.
So those bear will be coming through the village sometime this summer.
Really?
That mama bear and the cubs, more than likely, they'll be coming through here eating some bird seed out of a bird feeder, or getting them some sweet nectar out of them honeybird, or the what do they call them? Them
hummingbird feeders.
Whips, hummingbird feeders. Trying to think of the word there, but the hummingbird feeders. So they'll come through here, and people will see them this summer. But then they see them early summer. The blackberries come out, the pokeberries come out, and then the acorns go to falling of the fall, and that's their natural food source. So they all kind of move out of here and go on somewhere else. And there's some that stay here in Hot Springs Village. There's some dens within the village.
Really?
And most people think of a den like a cave, like you see on TV, but they're not. They got these stump holes from where a tree is maybe uprooted.
Right.
And there's just small holes, and this 300-pound sow bear can go down in that hole and dig herself around there and be down in these holes. And I've got pictures of some dens, and it just looks like a stump hole, but they're down in there, and you can see the bear there in the den with her little cubs. You can hear them, and then that's how we get down in there.
So there's a 300-pound sow bear down in there.
Yeah.
Now she's going to lose 20 pounds during the winter, I guess.
Well, the thing about it is, a female bear goes into what they call a early. They don't really hibernate because they're not in a deep sleep. I mean, they're still alert. Even when they're in their den with their little ones down there, they're still alert. They don't go into a deep sleep, but they do not eat, they do not urinate, they do not defecate from September until the next April.
Really?
Yeah. So they have to gain all of their weight, get all their fat and everything during the summer months.
That they're going to live on through the 6 months or roughly 6 months that way. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And for those who aren't acquainted, I know we have a lot of listeners from every side. That's one of the things we Randy and I did make a failing today. And by the way, Randy can't join us today, and I'm unfortunate. It's no big deal, but he just wasn't available to join us today. But the one of the issues that goes through my mind is that they have to go that many months to prepare, but at the same time, during those other months, they're hopping. They're eating everything they can.
They're eating everything they can get a hold of.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing about it is, it's just nature. But if their bodies are not capable of withstanding going without food and water and so forth for that long, they won't have cubs that year.
Really?
Yeah.
So if they're not healthy enough to have cubs, they just
if they're not healthy enough to have cubs, they won't. I guess you can say they won't stick. They won't. You know.
Yeah.
They won't have any cubs.
Well, and what a lot of people need to know here is, number one, as you say, the black bear, they have no interest in coming toward you whatsoever.
Oh, no.
They can't wait to get away from you. And if you see one, Diane and I were driving the Lake Winona Trail one day. We were coming down the west end, and we were just coming up under the south side of the wilderness area. And we pulled up, and it looked like a shaggy German Shepherd way at the end of the road. And I could just barely see him. And I thought, is that a dog or what is that? and I kind of rolled a little further ahead. We got out our cameras, and I said, honey, that's a black bear. And she wouldn't leave. And I kept thinking, why is she not running off in the woods like they want to do, you know? Mm-hmm. And about that time, two puff balls about the size of a Pomeranian, two little Pomeranian puff balls came running out of the side of the street or the side of the road. And it was like she was saying, come on, you kids. And they came running like crazy, and everybody went up in the woods, and it was all a good time. They couldn't wait to get away. And one of the other parts is, as I talk about the Lake Winona, I may make it sound like as soon as you cross outside the village, you're at 1.7 million acres of national forest. There's a pretty good spot of Green Bay packaging, which is the old Weyerhaeuser timber. And so there can be game or bear on that, and they can go on up into the national forest. And there's a really big green space buffer is what I'm trying to get as from here to the village to the national forest is miles and miles and miles of forest, right?
Right. It is. And a bunch of the stuff that we do is, you know, on the green belt or Green Bay packing. Just right on the border of the village.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, let me ask. So we've covered mountain lions. We've covered bear. Are there going to be any snakes this year? Because I was hoping that wouldn't happen. I'm looking for. Yeah, there'll be snakes. You think
there'll be snakes, and the thing about it is for people that just move here that don't know, this is going to be a bad year for ticks. I'm afraid the ticks are already out really bad. You know, you got Lyme disease that carries. So if you're going to be out in the woods, just make sure you spray with off. Make sure you spray off with some insect repellent and try to keep them off of you because, you know, we didn't have that bad of a winter. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had a little bit of snow and this, but as far as the freezing temperatures, we didn't have that bad of a winter to really knock down the ticks. And there's going to be a lot of ticks, but there's going to be a lot of snakes. One thing you can always remember is I guess it's just kind of an easy way to remember. If a snake has slanted eyes, it's usually venomous. If it's good and it's got rounded eyes, then it's usually non-venomous. And a bunch of people thinks that a non-venomous snake is venomous, but they're not. You know, you can tell by their eyes, and the best way to do it is just ID their scales and their patterns. You know, you got water moccasin, cottonmouth. When I was growing up, every snake you seen in the water, you know, they'd say, "Oh, there's a cottonmouth," or "There's a water moccasin." But when you learn it, you know, it's a ring-necked water snake, or it's different types of water snakes. So,
well, and to confuse things more, you know, it's easy to say, okay, well, you know, the slanted or the pit viper, the viper eyes, you know, well, that's poisonous. Well, and then the triangular shaped head. Well, a lot of snakes, when they feel threatened, they'll squash down and flatten out, and their head looks a little more diamond shaped. As opposed
and then you got some looks like a cobra. You know, them spread natters. They'll raise up and flatten their head out, and look like a cobra sitting there looking at you.
Oh, Todd, we're showing our country. Tell them what a spread natter is. Tell them what a spread natter is. I know, you know. Tell them.
A spread natter is a snake that when he gets scared or he feels threatened, he will raise his head up and he will flatten his head out, and it looks just like a cobra sitting there looking.
And he looks mean. He looks very.
And he does look very dangerous.
And he is not.
He's not venomous, but that's just him saying, hey, I'm here.
Back
Don't
up.
mess with me. Yeah. But they look wicked.
Some
When I was
people
a
call
kid,
them puff adder. I've heard that
yeah,
term.
some people call them a puff adder. I grew up, like I said, in the sticks, and we always called them. I've always heard them called spreading adders. Is what I call them. But anyhow, yeah, they are vicious looking. If you see one, it'll cause you to take off running.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I remember I about broke my neck trying to get away from one. I thought they were a cobra got implanted in Jessieville, Arkansas.
Because cobras are common in Jessieville, Arkansas, right?
Yeah, they are. Very, very.
Not so much.
Yeah, but they'll cause you to break a leg or something trying to get away from.
Yeah, about the only way they'll hurt you is if you try and kill yourself getting away.
Exactly.
Just want to make one other point. Let's talk about water snakes for a second, because everybody wants a lakefront property and water snakes. Look, I have seen water snakes that I would swear were copperheads, but they weren't.
Right.
By the way, two things. Let's cut to the chase. A puff adder will puff back, or a spreading adder will puff. When he is in the corner, it's his last chance. He can't get away any other way, and you got him cornered. He'll do that.
That's
Any
right.
other time, he's going to fly away. He's going to slither away. A water snake do the exact same thing. They can't wait to get away from you.
Right.
A black snake can't wait to get away from you. A copperhead will take you on now, buddy. Yeah, I'm 2 pounds, but you're 195. I'll take you on, buddy. Copperheads are pissy. And if they turn and want to get back at you and act like they're in a hurry to bite you, that could be a sign you're talking to a copperhead, right?
Yeah, it is. And I tell you, a copperhead's a pretty snake. I mean, now don't get me wrong, they're vicious, but they're a beautiful color. They're easy to recognize because of their copper color. And they're dark brown. It's got the copper with the dark brown, different designs on their back.
They call them Hershey Kisses. Is that the water snake? Okay.
No, that's the cottonmouth. They got the dark brown on their copper. That's copperhead. And then you got the cottonmouth. They call them a cottonmouth because they raise their mouth so open it looks like a piece of cotton.
A bowl of cotton, yeah.
A bowl of cotton. So those are the most common around your waters here in Hot Springs Village. And we got so many, we don't have a whole lot of, you can count about your most venomous snakes we got in the state of Arkansas on one hand. We don't have a whole lot of venomous snakes. It's just people get them confused with non-venomous. And to tell you the truth, I don't like snakes, Dennis. I just don't like them. Period. I don't care if they're venomous, if they're non-venomous. I don't like snakes.
But you don't kill every one of them you see either, Todd.
No. I don't do that. But I'm not a big fan of snakes.
Let's cut. I want to, and I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm trying to address the person who's never lived on a lake, never had in an area where there's snakes, that kind of thing. I will see in the middle of the day or even in the evening, I'll see a snake swimming across the lake, and it's easy to say, that's a copperhead, that's a cottonmouth, that's a no. Yeah. Because
we have several water snakes.
Water snakes will swim across the entire lake and don't have a problem with it. If you throw a copperhead in the lake, he tries to get back to the land as quick as he can. He's not interested in that stuff.
Yeah.
And as when we talk about the cottonmouth that has what looks like cotton inside their mouth, they're not mean. I mean, they're not vicious like a copperhead is. If you force a cottonmouth to get mad on you, they'll open up that mouth and you can see it, but they would rather go away. And their body is more of a triangle too. It's a ridge and low flatty squat, whereas a lot of other snakes will be more round. But I tell all that to say, I wouldn't want it to happen, but it's not a problem. If I got bit by a copperhead, which are bad snakes, I'm going to go to the hospital. It's going to be 30 minutes to the hospital. They're going to give me a lot of Benadryl. They're going to watch me for a reaction. If anything dire happens, they will give me the antidote, which they usually don't give. I mean, probably 9 times out of 10, they don't give it. I'll have an inflamed area. I'll have a headache. It'll throb. It'll hurt, but I'm not going to die. Right. Right.
Now, if you get up around your, especially here in the village, even if you get up around like you're mountainous, you live up on a mountain for a view and you're walking around behind your house, you know, and you got all the big mountain rocks and higher elevation and all that. Yeah, you probably come across some rattlesnakes.
Probably timber rattlers. Now those are the bad boys. And
you know,
they
you
have
get
a
bit
lot
by
of
one
venom.
of them. Yeah,
have
you
a
get
lot
bit
of
by
venom.
one of them. You know, it can be serious, but you'll know when you get close to one of them. All you got to do is it'll let you know that it's there.
He'll let you know before you know.
You're right. You'll hear him rattling. But yeah, I wear snake boots. You know, I have to deal with our lake dams and spillways and out around the water and everything. And I wear snake boots all throughout the summer. And you know, you see some, but like I said, I'm just not a fan of them. I'm not going to keep one for a pet or keep any here in my office or anything. But you know, yeah, it's nothing just to be alarmed about. I mean, they're here. And it's like the wildlife, you know, one of the main reasons that I work with the Game and Fish, and we kind of partnered up, you know, you'll be surprised at the people, Dennis, that's bought houses in here. And I've went out, I've looked at trees and asked them, you know, how they like living here in the village, how they come to know about it, and just kind of strike up a conversation. And they say, you know, the reason we bought this, we come out here to look at it. We've seen all the deer out here in the yard, or we've seen, you know, we've seen this type of deer, had a little fawn, and they just love the wildlife. You know, people that live here or that moved here from out of state, they've never seen that before. So, you know, that's, you know, if we can keep a healthy wildlife herd, I know the CWD, you know, is in the deer. It's one county above us. So we have to, during our urban deer hunts, you know, we have to monitor that real closely, and we get all of our deer tested and checked. And we, you know, if we keep
let me interrupt just for 1 second.
Okay.
You said the CWD, that's the chronic wasting disease.
That's the chronic wasting disease.
And it is nasty, as I understand.
Yes. It attacks the nervous system of the brain of the deer. And it's kind of like a mad cow disease. You know, they just kind of just go to stumbling. It's a very, very cruel thing that they can get. They just waste away.
Yeah. And you say that's just north of us. Is that Perry County or
Perry County had a case of it. And so here in the village, it's you know, during our urban deer hunt, every deer that we have that's tagged, or every deer that we have that goes to the Hunters Feed the Hungry, they get tested for CWD, chronic wasting disease. And you know, there's Blackfoot, there's blue tongue, there's a whole bunch of different diseases a deer can get, and especially if they're overcrowded like what we've had. And, you know, so far, knock on wood, this last urban deer hunt, we had every deer that we had checked, that we had tested, came back just, they didn't have any type of disease at all. So, and it's a good management practice. You know, it's because of good management. And I've got food plots that I've kind of built away from places that the Game and Fish have furnished the seed for me, that I've kind of put out for the different wildlife to kind of pull them away from houses and stuff, and give them their own little kind of area to hang out, you know, away from people.
Yeah.
And to kind of, you know, just kind of help the herd out a little bit and manage it. It's just kind of a management process that you got to do. And we keep track, you know, like I said, I'm with the Game and Fish, or I work with the Game and Fish. I'm not with them. I work with them. Let me clarify that. And we monitor how many deer we have that we think we have here in the village, how many bear we think we have here in the village, how many fox we think we have here in the village. Just, you know, different things. I mean, you got people that live here, Dennis. They're crazy about anything as small as a honeybee to a black bear. I mean, you know, so you've got a wide variety of different species that you have to try to manage and make sure that we've got a good healthy crop of animals right now, and you know, and if I need their help in any way, all I got to do is call. They send their biologists, veterinarians, whatever they need, and all that is just a good communication practice between Hot Springs Village and the Game and Fish.
Well, I actually, one of the very first times I came out here looking at homes was over 20 years ago, and we were over on the south side of Lake Coronado. And we pulled up to look at this house that was for sale. And when we got there, the neighbors were standing in the front yard. And I thought, well, what are we doing? And they had little pieces of dog food, and they were throwing them in the culvert, you know, where the driveway goes over the ditch. They were throwing them in the culvert.
Must have been a fox in there.
And these little foxes had come out to get them and eat them. And now my boys at the time thought that was the most amazing thing either.
Yeah.
but that's how much people here love the nature in the village. And,
they love it.
Oh, and I can't blame them. I do too.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about one uncomfortable thing. And people say, oh, I don't want them shooting my deer. I don't want to have urban deer hunt. I don't want them shooting my deer. And I always say, I'm fine with that too. Just keep them off the hood of my car and we're great. We're great.
Right.
But I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. I'm not going to put it on you. Okay.
All right.
So when Game and Fish sees an area that has, by their charter, it's their job. When they see an area that has a too great a density of deer, they will go out in the woods, Weyerhaeuser, National Forest, whatever, and they will take a car battery and they'll knock the lid off the top of that thing. And it's just exposed with sulfuric acid. And the deer will come up and lick that and die a miserable, horrible death. But that thins the herd. So, and I'm not being attractive here, I know, but you have two options. We can shoot Bambi with a bow and arrow and we can make beef jerky out of him and we can give him to the hungry, or we can let him lick sulfuric acid and die out in the middle of the woods. Am I close?
You're right. I know that there's lots of people that love the animals and they do, and they hate to see something like this. They don't like the hunters and stuff, but
it sounds inhumane compared until you see what the other results are.
It is.
The entire herd gets chronic wasting disease because they're weak or whatever, right?
Yeah. And the thing about it is, once you get overcrowded, you start your inbreeding, start your disease spreading, you start all these other things, and it's a nightmare. And plus, you got all this damage to vehicles, to the car accidents. People, they're getting in people's azalea bushes, and people, they love the deer. Well, if they love the deer, they want to see them healthy. That's the main thing. That's our main goal, is to keep a healthy herd, and by doing that, you have to manage them by population control. And last year, or for 2021, our accidents involving wildlife were down by 4.
Really?
As the other 2 previous years. So,
and how many do we usually have? Is it 100 or so or something, or what?
No, it's just usually around, I think, 60, 54s.
Okay.
I think before it's like 60, and this last year it was like 54.
But every doe is going to have 1 fawn or 2 fawns. How does
they
that
can
work?
They can have up to 3, but
Really?
most of them have 1 or 2. Yeah.
So when I'm driving down DeSoto at night and there's a large female, a fawn, no horns, no antlers, and there's 2 little babies, it's safe to assume that she had 2 spawns, two babies this year.
And, the Game and Fish right now, we do what they call a spotlight count. And we go around the night, spotlight the deer from, we got different routes that they've got that we take. Do that for a week straight. That they have a different equation that they figure up with that tells you how many deer you have per acre. And through that, they can tell you how many deer overpopulated you are. And right now, the Hot Springs Village is overpopulated by about 1,100 to 1,200 deer.
What?
So, and so in order to stay up with that, we have to have an urban deer hunt. Now, out of this urban deer hunt, though, Dennis, comes something good also. Number 1, we're managing our herd. We're eliminating diseases, eliminating inbreeding and crowding, and overpopulation. Number 2, Jessieville School District, Fountain Lake School District, Cutter, Mountain Pine. Now, Hot Springs Village has gotten from Texarkana School District all the way to Bentonville School District through what is called the backpack program. I've got pictures where they take the deer that's donated to Hunters Feed the Hungry. We send it to a processing plant, Hunters Feed the Hungry does in Missouri, and they make these called snack sticks. I'm gonna get you some, Dennis.
I want to see some. I will try some.
I'll get you some.
I'll hold them up and promote them for you.
Yeah, well, that's what I'll do.
So this is made from deer in the village and others, of course.
Well, there is 7 urban deer hunts in the state of Arkansas. Hot Springs Village donated more deer last year to Hunters Feed the Hungry than you can take the other 6. Multiply them by 2, and that's how many Hot Springs Village donated.
Really?
We donated 186 deer, which made about 55. I think they said we donated like 55,000 maybe of the snack sticks, the packages. And so the Hot Springs Village hunt went from went from Texarkana all the way to Bentonville school districts. Plus, I don't know if you're familiar with the Jackson House, Hot Springs.
Yeah, sure. Great organization.
Yeah, so we, a lot of our meat went to the Jackson House. A lot of it goes to Jessieville School District, Fountain Lake School District. We try to keep it around area schools, but we've got so much now that we can touch children all across the state through our urban deer hunt.
Well, let's go through the urban deer hunt real quick, and we got to wrap up.
Right.
And Todd, as always, man, thank you for your time. It's a
pleasure. Always great to be on with you, Dennis.
Font of knowledge, my friend. So step one, we have an urban deer hunt, and you have to go through there's an organization you have to go through.
It is. It's called the Arkansas Bow Hunters Association.
Okay, and they give training and orientation.
First of all, you have to take a safety class, and you receive a card that you have passed this safety class. Then every year we have what we call an orientation, and that's when you bring the bow that you're going to hunt with, because you can only use a bow now.
Sure.
And you can only hunt Hot Springs Village. People's where we're walking trails. We may get shot. Well, that's one we have that you have to be a minimum of 10 foot up a tree, so the trajectory of your arrow is going down to the ground. So therefore, you're not shooting straight out to hit somebody.
And how far from the other homes or whatever do you have to?
It's 50 yards from any trail, road, or structure.
And if you know anything about a bow and arrow, that's nothing. You're not going to hit anything 200 yards out with a bow and arrow.
Right. So there was a lot of thought and planning went into this. With the Arkansas Bow Hunter Association and the Game and Fish Commission.
Right.
We took their thoughts in on this planning of what we should do. And then you have to take an orientation. And what you do is you have to bring the bow that you're hunting with. And they have a target set up, and you have to hit this area that's about 6 inches in diameter 3 straight times.
Really?
To qualify. Now, if you can't do that, you're done.
Happy trails.
Happy trails. So if you qualify, and what that does is, Dennis, that lets you know that you haven't got just some rogue hunter out here hunting. You got somebody out here that knows what they're doing. They're ethical. They can at least hit a vital spot to where there's not going to be suffering or anything like that. So,
well, how many deer a year do we usually harvest?
This last year we harvested 389, I believe.
Now if I'm not mistaken, I remember some years where we've been in the 500s.
We have. And the year before this matter of fact, we harvested, I think it was like 426.
Mm-hmm.
So we were down a little bit with our tags, but of course, just like any other kind of hunting, there's poachers that come in that hunt illegally. So, you have to figure that too. So
factor that in. Well, right. Just curious now. So the hunter goes out, he's in a stand 10 feet up. He can't shoot more than 50 yards, or he's not going to shoot more than 50 yards or closer to a home or whatever. He can be on common space. He can be on some other property. He can be on some designated area that y'all have allowed. And then he shoots a deer, and that first deer goes to feed the hungry, or what? How does it go? How does it work?
The first deer of every hunter, your first deer goes to hunters feed the hungry. And we want it to be a doe. We don't want somebody coming in here just buck hunting. Because that's not what our goal is. Our goal is to take the numbers down, and manage the herd.
It's not a trophy hunt.
It's not a trophy hunt. It's a management hunt. Yeah. So and we don't allow any fawns. You get caught taking a fawn or a yearling. It's adult deer only. A fawn or yearling, you'll be put out for. You won't ever get to participate in urban hunt again. Wow. You break any rules here in the village. Now, last year, the Game and Fish has started monitoring this pretty closely. And last year, we found a stolen stand. The guy in Hot Springs had stolen. We got back to him. It's been stolen for 2 years. We found some different violations, but they were, we had to put, I think, 3 or 4 people out that won't get to participate anymore.
So if somebody wanted to hunt this fall and by the way, it's a long season too, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes from bow season. It goes from September the 1st to February 28th.
February 20th. Now, is that statewide, or is that just for urban deer hunt?
It's a statewide bow hunt, and that's whatever. Now, our bow hunt here in the village has always went to January 31st. Okay. This year, we're going to lengthen it on to February 28th because that's when the state bow bow hunt is, and that's the Game and Fish. They suggested we do that. So
if somebody wanted to hunt in this urban deer hunt, how would they do?
You go to Arkansas Bow Hunters Association website. That's ArkansasBowhuntersAssociation.com, and you will register and become a member. And then it will give you the different orientations you can attend. You want to attend the Hot Springs Village Urban Deer Hunt Orientation. It'll have all the rules on there, and then you click on it, and it'll have a map shaded in yellow, and that's the areas that you can hunt.
Okay.
Now, we're limiting each hunter per 2 stands, but we're trying to get people from coming in on top of one another. We don't want people getting, hunting around residents or something like that. Because that, number one, Dennis, our property owners that's our number one priority. Our residents and our property owners is our number one priority.
Sure.
We want to manage these deer, but we also want to do it without, any harm to them, causing any kind of confusion with them. So we, that they're our number one priority, and we want to have the hunters in here, but we don't want to have them right on top of these residents and property owners. Sure. So, I told the hunters, hey, look, when we come in here, we want to be invisible. We want to get the job done, but just be invisible.
Yeah.
And that's what our goal is.
Well, I tell you what, from all the reviews I've heard, I think it's excellent. And I do understand for those of you that are going, I don't want you to shoot my little deer in the front yard. I got news for you. There will be more deer next year. They make more deer like bunnies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They is a good population of them in here, and they keep growing. They just keep growing. So.
Well, okay. Todd Noles, Dennis Simpson, Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Thanks for joining us today. We will talk again soon.
Thank you, Dennis.
Oh, appreciate it, buddy. See you soon.
All right. See you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.